Hey guys, Luna here, and welcome back to our life. Now, last we left off, we did Derek's Soiree, which I purposely saved back here because I wanted to try and go back over to here and actually do Cove's Soiree, since you can only do one of the two soirees. So I figured might as well do this version of the soiree and see what that one's like. And if I don't end up letting you guys decide, I'll decide which one I like better and go from there. So a lot of this was going to be fairly similar.
Hi.
Yeah, so it's wait. So do this. So I guess I'll just start from the beginning, and rather than just skipping over everything. You were out away in the morning doing whatever struck your fancy, and now you're recharging with lunch. And with nothing on the horizon, you want to spend free time as much or as little time on your plate as you wanted. It was while you were thinking of all the possibilities for your afternoon that's when your mom's approached you.
Hi.
Hi, Luna. You okay? Mouth full, you nodded in reply. To your surprise, they both sat with you at the table. Based on the time, you were wondering if they were joining you for a meal, but neither of them brought anything.
Alright.
Great, we wanted to have a little chat with you. The qualifier little did nothing to downplay the situation. You're chewing slow as your eyes widened, looking from one parent to the other. Anything that required both of them to talk to must be something big. You perked up, your mind full of exciting possibilities. Vacation maybe, or pets? Revelation that they were actually undercover agents? You leaned in, eager to learn more. There's a soiree at the Cypress tomorrow night. Your mom and I are going. The Cypress was the country club your mom were a part of, and Elizabeth played golf. It seems like every other month they had some event or another, all with fancy names like Soiree. You nodded, eagerly anxious for Mom to get to the good stuff. Mom chuckled in poorly concealed reaction. Leaning in, your mom took your hand and squeezed it. We decided to make the night a bit special. Elizabeth's going to be allowed to stay at home fully alone for the first time. You'll still be coming to the party with us, and it's Elizabeth's night to party with no family around. Not yours, sorry. You gotta wait for a couple more years. What's this soiree gonna be like? The usual. Well, mostly. We wanted to make it a special night for you too, so we got something a little extra planned. That was unexpected. Interested, you listened. Your parents shared a look across the table. You cleared your throat, reminding them of that you were waiting. They couldn't be dragged such hints and turned quiet when the conversation was about to turn good.
Well?
Since it's a pretty fancy party, that's sole chaperones, and attendees are allowed to bring a guest, we thought it'd be nice to have an opportunity to invite someone yourself as a date, if you want. Your eyes widened at this word sunk in. Your moms took advantage of your uncharacteristic silence to continue filling in on the event. Even though you'll be at the party too, you don't need to worry about us getting in your way. You'll be free to eat, dance, and enjoy the music as you see fit, but no leaving the property. Your moms nodded at Mom's interjection.
Isn't that great?
As long as you don't leave the party and would rather bring in a friend, that's okay too. That's amazing. You must have lit up because your parents shared an amused look again.
Don't worry about it.
The soiree isn't until tomorrow, so you got time. Just let us know your plans before we're heading out. That's all. We'll leave you to your lunch now. Your moms rose from the chairs in unison, disappearing to another part of your house. You barely noticed their departure. All you could think of was what had just happened. The remnants of your lunch stared up from your plates. You felt like you should finish eating. The conversation had taken your mind off the meal, but you opted to try and eat a little bit more. You picked up the plate for a little while longer. Even though you relocated to your bedroom, your head was stuck on the conversation that had unfolded at the dinner table downstairs. You knew that you wanted it to be a date. The prospect of having your first date made it impossible to sit still. You couldn't help but jiggle your foot as you laid in your bed, contemplating the possibility. The night being a date would actually mean asking someone out. The little you knew that came from what you've seen on TV and movies, and what you heard about was from kids in school. Your moms hadn't even entertained the idea of dating until now. You went over to the possibility of of words and phrases in your head and setting up scenarios in smooth siegs before tearing them down and trying something else. It's too bad you didn't have anyone specific in your mind for your imaginary romance. Sighing, you shifted position in your bed, resting your arms on your windowsill. A flock of birds caught your eye and led your gaze as they crossed the sky. You watched the birds grow smaller and less distinct until they disappeared from sight. Like the snap of hypnotist's fingers, you were released from the trance and left with a goal of your own. You're gonna go take a walk. You rambled through the familiar streets of your neighborhood, picking your path at a whim. It was quiet as ever, with tourists choosing to congregate in the shopping area near the beach rather than venture into sleepy residential zones. You continued down the road and soon found yourself at the shore. The fresh, salty air hit you first, rolling to meet you in the over-grassy sea dunes that tickled your legs, followed by the familiar view of the sea stretching out across the horizon. Came to a halt. A lone figure was standing in the ocean, the water reaching up at his knees. Though he had his back toward you, you recognized the familiar silhouette as Cove's. It made sense that you would find him here. He was always in his element by the sea. You had no idea if he heard your arrival or not, if it was a coincidence, but he looked over his shoulder. Your eyes met. He had it closer. Though Cove was sure to return to the shore after seeing you, it wasn't far to make him do all the work. Cove grinned out at you from over his shoulders before turning around to wade back to the shore.
Luna.
What are you up to? My mom's taking me to a soiree tomorrow at the country club. A soiree? Sounds exciting. Cove tried to show a level enthusiasm, keeping a grin pinned in place, but you could tell that it was held no envy toward your plans. Will you come with me? Oh, you can bring someone? My mom says it was okay for someone to come along. Watch him process the offer, his eyes becoming far away for just a moment before he broke into a smile.
Sure.
Sure, I'll come. Could be a date? Cove flashed, brushing his hair from his face. When he didn't join in or continue the joke, he cocked his head.
What?
You're not serious, right? Your parents said I could have a real date for the first time at the soiree tomorrow. I don't think it could be a real date with me. It's a practice date. Is that something you're supposed to practice? I don't know. But it wouldn't be a good idea to try to date with someone you're friends with before going out with someone you actually like. Oh, wait. What his arms?
Maybe?
But what would I do differently to make it a date? Would I need to buy you flowers or something? You laughed, picturing Cove showing up in formal wear, turning up with a huge bouquet of flowers in his hair slicked back. Only if you want to, but I'm not getting you anything. So I just need to go and say it's a date? Close enough. Well, alright, we can try it. Only for you, Luna. You smiled widely. There was only going to be a pretty special night after all. You clapped your hands together, ready to share the resolution with your parents. Could you come by my house right now, so I can let my mom know the plan? No problem. Cove went over to where he discarded his things in the sand, tugging his shirt over his head and slipping on a pair of shoes before joining you in selling off home. The two of you stepped inside the front door of your house. Given the proximity you had growing up, it was an action you'd taken together countless times. And though you thought yourself lucky to have such a great friend living close by. At the sound of the door opening, your moms poked your heads into the hall.
Hello.
Hello. Ah, Cove, it's you. It's what a surprise. She chuckled out her own joke. Cove was always there, and she knew how close the two of you actually were. Bringing anyone other than him back would have been an actual surprise. Hi, Miss Mayor. So I take it Cove is going to be our guest for tomorrow night? Yeah, he's a lucky guy.
So?
Is it a date? Her voice was light, teasing, and it was fake.
I guess.
I guess it is. March arched an eyebrow at the vague agreement.
Oh?
Cove became more sheepish about it after seeing someone reacting to the situation. It's supposed to be practice. I see. So I planned for us to try a date before we go more in the future. It'll be less hard if we already done it before.
Sounds good.
Makes sense to me. Okay, Cove, I'll give your dad a call and get everything squared away. She walked off to make the call, and you turned to Cove, who offered you a nervous smile. I'm gonna go on so I can talk to my parents when they're done with the call. Alright, see you tomorrow. Cove nodded. There's a small smile on his lips, far less strained than one he'd given you moments before. You hoped that meant he'd recovered from your mom's joke. Bye. And the rest of the afternoon passed by just like that. Back in your room, your mind was aligned with the visions of tomorrow night. The soiree was something, but not nearly as exciting as going on your first dates. You were thrilled that Cove had actually said yes, and now it was a genuine date to a party. You hugged your knees to your chest, overawed by the thoughts. The night couldn't come soon enough. The evening of the soiree had arrived. The daylight hours had slipped away in a blur. Up in your bedroom, you were getting ready for the big events. That was your intention, at least, but you hadn't set on an outfit. Stationed in front of your wardrobe, you scanned over the clothing you had at his disposal. Though Ma had mentioned that this event was a bit dressier than a normal get-together, you didn't necessarily have to comply. I wanted to look for something formal. You attempted to decide between the nicer pieces of your wardrobe, the ones that actually rarely had a chance to come out. You decided to dress formally because you were dressing to impress. Fashion was a competitive sport, like the golfing tournaments the club hosted. You might not walk out with a trophy at the end, but you still had every intention of winning. You decided to wear a blouse. A pretty blouse was a strong start. You can pair it easily with just about anything, and the subtle print of the fabric would give you a distinct look. And you paired your top with just pants. You picked a pair that complemented the color of your top and nodded in satisfaction. It was a slick look. You began to get dressed, and your fingers working stiff zips and awkward fastenings. It felt different against your skin, reminding you of every moment that you were dressed up. Whatever happened tonight, you were pleased that you got the opportunity to wear this. Now dressed, you gave yourself a final glance over before heading downstairs, ready to head out. You found your moms already waiting in the living room. They were putting the finishing touches on their outfits. Ma strapped a heel in the stiletto shoe, and Mom was trying to fashion a bracelet single-handedly. Again, love these outfits. These outfits are gorgeous. I love the artist team who made them. They're just awesome. They looked up at you as you entered.
Oh,
Luna, you look so nice. Don't you think so, Pam?
thanks.
Thanks for dressing up, Luna. I hope the party will be prepared for your arrival. You look sharp. Mom was still struggling with the bracelets. You lent a hand, literally, by taking one side and holding up as she secured the clamp. Thanks, kiddo. Mom then glanced over at the clock on the wall, seeing as where the hands were pointing, a frown creased her face. When's Cove gonna be here? Do you know? I'm picking him up from his place.
Oh?
Oh, yeah? She raised her eyebrows, a broad grin replacing the earlier frown. That's very polite of you. Go sweep him off his feet. We want to leave in 10 minutes. Okay. Cove's house was merely seconds away from yours, making the warning unnecessary, but you dutifully went out. After crossing the street, you found yourself at Cove's very familiar front door. You rang the bell, whose chime was lodged in your head from all the times you rung it over the years. Though, unlike usual, Cove's mom, Kira, was the one who answered this night.
Come on.
Hey, Luna, come on in. She beckoned you inside, as if she was excited to see you that words alone weren't enough. Thanks for coming in. The boys will be right down. They're just in Cove's room. I can call them if you want. It's alright, I can wait.
Great.
Sure. She took a seat on the sofa and patted a chair. Feel free to put your feet up. While you waited, Kira easily filled the time by chatting with you about your plans with the night ahead. He looks adorable. A short while later, Mr. Holland strode into your room, giving you a wave. Cove's lips squeezed into a smile. As you reciprocated, the tension in his face seemed to ease. Hi. Cove, fancy seeing you here. Cove seemed to take your appreciation with a glance. He smiled. He opened his mouth to speak more, then paused. Cove checked the time using the clock hanging on the side wall and addressed his parents. We gotta go. You abruptly headed toward the door.
Come on.
Where's the fire? Isn't there something you want to do before leaving for the dance? Cove froze, wincing at the call-out, while his dad continued to smile encouragingly. Curious, you watched Cove expectantly. It's hard to imagine what he would want to do that before heading out, or what he would have time for. Your mom's warning about not taking too long echoed in the back of your mind.
Come on.
We'll do that later. His words came out on a mumble. Kira laid a hand on Cliff's chest, pinning him in place. Don't mind him. You kids have a blast. I'll return your son in mint condition. See you. You follow Cove into the streets. Cove sighed, wrapping a hand across his forehead, seeing the look on your face. He shook his head.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's fine. It's nothing. That was good news. You didn't think Cove would get much fun out of a party if he went in already feeling bad, but it didn't explain his actions or his dad's teasing question. What was your dad on about? Expression grew pained. His brows ceased and his mouth furrowed as his avoided meeting you in the eyes. He might have gotten worried if not for the flesh coloring in his face. He was just embarrassed. Cove drew himself up before responding. Dad's been making a big deal out of everything ever since he found out about this. Why am I not surprised? He gestured vaguely between me and you. How I'm dressed, how I should prepare, what's going to happen. He even looked up the precise definition of a soiree in 2 dictionaries, in case one was wrong. I didn't realize we have to do homework for this party. I wanted to make sure I would know what to do at one. So after he figured it out, he made sure to tell me about it. He exhaled, smiling sheepishly.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry for complaining. It's not your fault. It's not really his either. It's okay. Thanks, I was trying to get someone with that. Both my dad and mom insisted that since it's kind of a date, kind of a fancy party, I needed to give something for you for inviting me. The conclusion of the story caught you by surprise. You blinked, unsure if you slacked too much on your own preparations for tonight. Got me a present?
That's,
Not really, it's just this. He reached out behind himself to get something out of his back pocket. His hand returned to you by holding a single small white poppy in the stem. He offered it to you without meeting your gaze, finding it the ritual too embarrassed to face head on. It's my favorite. Cove smiled in relief, and it seemed to have finally been able to lighten up again.
cool.
Really? Cool, I wasn't positive. I thought it was kind of obvious. I'm sorry I didn't get you anything. It's no big deal. I mean, like I said, you're already the one who invited me. I only get to go because of you. Then you accepted the flower from him. Cove strained himself out in response. So we're gonna be late if we keep standing here. Right, we better hurry. You returned home, Cove in tow. Your moms welcomed you back. Expected them to pile you back outside immediately, but the urge was momentarily stifled as they caught the sight of the flower clasped in your hand. Thankfully, other than sharing an infuriatingly knowing smile, they took it in stride and didn't say anything. Mom's smug look vanished as she caught a sight of the clock. Purpose remembered, your moms whisked you out once more into the car and off to your destination. You smiled up at the country club. The sun had sunk into the horizon, the last of its light sheepishly warming on the oncoming night. Your moms had led you out in the space around the back where the event was being held. The place had been transformed through decorations with smart tablecloths, elegant ribbons, and contributing to festive atmospheres. Musicians dressed in matching black and white were setting up their instruments and flickering through the pages of sheet music, and, as promised, there was a table covered in plates of carefully prepared food. Destination reached, your parents rounded you on Cove. Things haven't kicked off yet, but don't let that stop you from enjoying yourselves.
Have fun.
Have fun, we'll be around if you need us.
See you later.
See you. Bye. Cove waved your moms off. Once they retreated a distance away, you found him watching you expectantly. What now? His voice was light, but his wide-eyed expression in the nervous glances, you could tell that he was feeling out of his depths. We have to wait for some things to start, like the band, but their stuff's going on already. Curve perked up at that.
Really?
Oh, do you want to do any of those? Whatever there are? Check the snacks at the refreshment table. We can go get some food now, even if the music hasn't started yet.
Oh?
That's okay, it's not too soon. Yeah, I only like these parties because of the free food. Yeah, let's go check it out. The two of you wandered over to the refreshment table. With it being early in the night, it had barely been touched, and the plates were as neatly pristine as they were when they left the kitchens. The offerings were all tiny and bite-sized, ready to be picked up and sampled. It was immediately apparent that there had been plenty to choose from. Just from the level of care of which it was presented, it was clear that this was fancy stuff. Cove stared at one plate, then another, confused.
Maybe?
I think I know some of this. And I only know, and only some of it's any good. You examined the table with a detective at a crime scene. This one's so sour your tongue will shrivel up, and this one looks like chocolate, and it is, mostly. What else is it? Nasty. Cove's eyes were wide as you guided him through what was on offer. It made you feel sophisticated. Cove squared up his shoulders as if gearing for a match. I'm gonna try it. Picked up a plate and took one appetizer, then another and another. Soon you realized he was taking one of every single type. There's no price for eating it all. You just got to only take the things you want. I don't know what I want, so I'm figuring it out. Yeah, sure, I'll join him in sampling everything. Might be stuffed afterwards, but that was a problem for your future self. Right now, you're going to enjoy the feast to the full. Cove nibbled away through everything the Cypress had. The results of his endeavors were mixed. He was revolted by some of the things he tried, openly screwing up his face and rushing to find a drink to wash the taste away. Yet, these bad experiences didn't stop him from plunging on, moving on to the next snack with an open mind. There were some foods he was neutral about, dismissing them with a shrug, but best of all were his reactions when he stumbled across something good. Each time it caught him by surprise, his expression morphing from wary curiosity to a skeptical interest before making way for his astonished enjoyment. Regardless of how he felt about what he was currently eating, you could tell that he was having a good time just being able to eat whatever he laid his eyes on. And I thought that was nice too. After going around of sampling, moved on to something else. I'm gonna introduce Cove to the people of your country club. I know most of these people because I've been brought here over the years. You can meet them. He frowned. Talking with strangers is not generally something he preferred activity. I'll want to know about this my mysterious guest. It'll be cool. I'm not really mysterious, and it'll be even less mysterious if you introduce me. That just made you laugh. You beckoned him to follow you around and meet the other guests. Most of the attendees screwed significantly older or considerably younger than the two of you, with only a few people around your age. Despite his apprehension, Cove was cordial in his interactions. Not that there weren't any difficulties. Sorry, could you repeat your name? It's Cove. Cove? They rolled the word over their tongues, clearly surprised. How unusual, but lovely, of course. As you expected, there was an interest in who you brought to the party, and what your relationship with him was. Luna, good to see you. This your dates? Cove looked to you to explain the atypical pseudo-date you found yourself in on tonight. We're friends, but yeah, he's my date for the dance. I'm a heartbreaker. Still, some people focus on the important things. How are you dressed? Don't you look snappy in that outfit? You scrubbed up well. With the basic niceties taken care of, you... continue. You took a seat to relax. You should pick out a table. Okay. We found a place to sit together on the edge of the party, where it was quieter with few people bustling around. He pulled out a chair and sat down, and Cove, already seated, was stretching. These clothes are kinda uncomfortable. He flexed his arms at the elbow, frowning, before twisting back behind him. Yeah?
Aww.
My arms can't move the same as normal. Like I'm gonna rip out of it if I do anything. I think it suits you. Really? Okay, thanks. You toyed with one of the cuffs in his shirt, wedging a finger between the fabric and his skin. Now that you had your spot of your own. You stayed chatting with Cove at the table. In no time at all, the sunset had set full, the lights faded in, and the opening notes on the band's first song ran out. You and Cove stopped what you were doing, turning to contemplate the party that had been steadily unfurling while you were distracted. It was much busier now, both in terms of people and activity. The first steps were taken onto the dance floor, some tentative, others eager, and even if the band hadn't been playing, the constant level of chatter would have ensured that it wasn't quiet nights. With the party now in full swing, your options had increased. You asked Cove to dance. I would like to dance with you, if that's okay. Cove raised an eyebrow in surprise at your heart-hesitant invitation. Even though it was a dance party, he had anticipated this outcome. You watched him shake off his shock and smile delicately. I have to, don't I? It's a date. Only if you want to. Still smiling, Cove carefully held out his hand to you. You hesitated for a moment, giving him the opportunity to rescind that offer, before accepting and heading out to him to the dance floor. You took the places standing before each other, hands still entwined. Frowning, Cove assessed the situation, trying to puzzle it out. It's like a math problem before putting his remaining free hand on your shoulder. You're happy with that. Cove was comfortable with the stance, and the arrangement was good for you too. The two of you were eye to eye with him now, and at this distance there was little less to look at, other than the awkward mean irises. The Misa had begun. You both moved eagerly to catch up to it, but your feet took you the opposite directions. Fumbling, the two of you shuffle from side to side, attempting to mute each other's movements, but always winding up at odds. It was difficult. Cove was struggling to just coordinate his own limbs to the rhythm, let alone matching your movements. When Cove's foot ghosted over yours, it's decided to be safest for everyone if it simply swayed to the tune. You rooted yourself to the floor, your torsos gently moving to the sounds. Gratefully, Cove kept his movements small and smellable in the same way. You were distinctly aware that almost all the other dancing couples were men paired with him, and unlike you and Cove. It didn't bother you. This was a welcoming environment. Your two moms wouldn't be members otherwise. Not that the majority didn't mean that there weren't any problems to it. Your confidence spilled all over to Cove. He tried to be less timid in his demeanor, though it didn't improve his dancing. It didn't make it worse, and you hoped that meant he was having a better time. And it was fine for a little while. You weren't going to win any dancing accolades with Cove, but it was pleasant to simply share the experience with him. Cove stepping out of sync with the music, knocking against you. He flinched back, nearly pulling you over in the process. You took a hand from him and held it up, halting proceedings so you could get both of you back to bearings once more. It's okay. Instead of fully accepting the reassurance, Cove looked off. Thanks. Then you took Cove's hands once more and gingerly resumed swaying to the music. Cove reluctantly followed suit, his steps small and apprehensive. He mumbled something quietly. This is a long song. I wasn't sure how to take that, whether he meant they thought something was wrong, or if Cove didn't really like dancing, or he didn't like dancing with you specifically. It made the last couple of minutes of the song uncomfortable as you weighed about what to do and what to say to Cove. When the musicians laid their instruments down, Cove dropped you. Hands as if they were burning him. He trailed off the dance floor quietly, and he could, without breaking it into an outright run. When you caught up, he said nothing. You tried to get him to doing something else, but eliciting anything from him was now impossible. You focused over Cove, wondering how he was finding the evening. He sighed. It was so quiet and unobtrusive that you would have caught it if you hadn't been watching him. Your gaze was roaming. With how far away his eyes seemed, whatever he was searching for couldn't be found at the party. He turned to face you before saying anything. I want to sit down. We can do that. Cove began to move, and you instinctively followed him. Yet, instead of taking a seat at one of the many free tables as you expect, Cove ignored them as he purposely strode out of the party area. Cove, there's seats right here. Your call didn't seem to register with him as he continued forward out of the greens of the golf course. You went after him, trying to watch out for the uneven ground of the underfoot. The clods of earth dislodging in the games of golf were perfect for snagging unwary feet even in daylight. Up ahead, Cove didn't appear to have any difficulty traversing the uneven lands. Aww, Cove! He settled down on one of the little hills of the golf course. You joined him, still unsure of what was going on. What's wrong? Cove started, as if acting on instinct that your question had brought him around to reality again.
Sorry.
Sorry. That's okay. You can go back to the party. You didn't budge from your spot. From here, the party was just glowing haze in the distance. You didn't want to leave him behind. No soldier left behind, Cove. We're not soldiers. I'm still sticking with you. Oh, thanks. Now that Cove was more at ease, he tried to find out what had caused him to take flight in the first place. Did the party make you uncomfortable? It upset you that Cove had been unhappy attending the event with you, but logically you knew that the issue was likely the event rather than your company. Was it the dancing? His abrupt departure from another indicator that something had gone awry.
What?
No. He shook his head empathetically. It's not anything I did tonight. It's definitely not anything you did either. He nodded, relieved to have your suspicions confirmed. Cove attempted to fill in the gaps of understanding. I don't want to think about going back to the party. I just feel ready to go home. Should I get my mom's? I don't want to ruin their nights. Cove sat there quietly, gazing into the shadowy hills and valleys of the golf course, comfortable warmth wind rustling between you, tousling his hair. It was quiet. It was so far away in the hubbub of the party, you can even make out the quiet sounds of crickets chirping. This is kind of like how we first met. Do you remember? How could I forget? Your impression of Cove during those early days hadn't been fond. It's so weird. It was such a long time ago now. You had thought back in the day when Cove first arrived in your neighborhood, he had run away from Mr. Holton, taking solace in the hills behind your house. It had been so late, too, on a clear night like today. Looking out the sky, you wondered if the stars that were looking down at you were the same ones as then. Cove's face was brighter, though you could still see signs of the strain that had caused him to depart from the soiree. When he first sat down, he had curled up like a pill bug, hunched over, knees pressed up to his chest and arms wrapped around them. He'd unwound as he'd been talking, straightening up as his hands freed to gesticulate. It was as though the two of you constructed your own little world away from everything else, and he was beginning to perk up. The small smile that had crept onto his face quickly ushered away by a frown. Can't believe I'm on a date. Cove followed up on the statement before he could react. He spoke in a distinctly whispered tone, as though you were only one in the world who would share these words with. After I said I wanted to come, I wanted to take it back. Not because I really didn't want to do that, but because, I don't know. It seemed like a big deal. It made me feel like bad somehow. I started feeling like I couldn't do it even though I wanted to do it. I guess it was sort of like have to give a presentation in front of the class, even though it was just me and you doing something like we always do. You charged on, his words streaming out. I still could do it because thinking about it's not being there and you and whatever you might think if I did take it back made me feel way worse than whatever I felt.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Luna. I'm sorry I can't just deal with stuff like this and have to make everything so complicated. You didn't have to. I'm sorry I made you feel bad. You then ruffled his hair. He laughed, playfully pretending to swat your hands away. Hey. You ducked half-heartedly. You retrieved your hand, taking the hint, only for him to pout that he gave up. Laughing, you ruffled his hair again. He finally moved his head to look at you straight on, eyes meeting yours.
Luna.
Thanks for inviting Luna. You stared back at him, not comprehending. But didn't it make you feel bad?
Yeah.
It did, when I had to think about how I was actually doing it, but getting to hear that you wanted me to come made me feel good.
It's nice.
I'm happy when you think about me, when you want me to be there, when I do end the year with me. It all feels better in the end. Cove stood up without warning, then sudden change broke a quiet revered that had fallen over you. It was such a Cove thing to do. You got up to stand beside him. You tilted your head in an unspoken question. Cove smiled awkwardly, brushing some grass off the side of his pants.
Wanna dance with me?
We already did. You were there. I know, but it's a dance party, right? And I think he trailed off, brow furrowing as if trying to figure out an answer to himself. Noting slowly, he continued, "I think I want to dance with you again before it's over." With the only words he had left had to explain words. With the only words he had to explain gone, he just held up his hand to you. His expression was soft. "I want to dance with you too." Then you reached for his hand and took it in yours. Cove grinned and his chest rose with the deep breaths he took. You returned hand in hand, with the party reaching its end the end of a long evening. Dancing couples had become scarce. One pair among them were hard to notice, but one pair among many were hard to notice, but now the space around you would act as a spotlight. Not that there were many left to watch you. You were still at ease, even buoyed by the dissipated crowd. This time there was a spring in his step as you walked to the dance floor together. Cove kept a hold of his hands and you given back on the little hill. You rested the other on your shoulder. Cove hesitated while he waited for a sign. With the song in progress before you stepped out to dance, there was no signal for the right moment to begin. Yeah, it's definitely want to make sure having the right signal to start a dance. It's definitely important. The same thought occurred to Cove, who shrugged his shoulders with keeping form, taking that as your starting point. He cautiously began to sway. Cove readily followed your example. You danced wordlessly, dimly aware of the music guiding you. You were more focused on Cove, whose attention was firmly fastened on you. Unlike before, wherein he was nervously looked down his feet as if trying to keep them in check, his eyes were steady. He didn't even allow himself to be shaken when your knees knocked up against each other and you briefly fumbled in your steps. Instead, he smirked, wanting to take this dance in stride in more ways than one. You were utterly at peace, safe and relaxed in his presence. The little slip-up, the whole evening really, only served to underline how nothing could dent the foundation of your friendship. All too soon the song reached its conclusion. You could have continued quite contentedly for some time more. You and Cove let go of each other, though your feet remained ruined to where they had been when the song finished. You heard your name call out, and you brought that dance truly to an end. You both spun to find Mom yelling for you and Cove. Beside her, Mom was shaking her head.
Sorry.
It's time to go home. Lonnie, I had to get a hold of them somehow. What do you want me to do, sneak up on them? Her chosen method was admittedly better than that. You still cringed at how unaware you had been when she announced your arrival. Cove looked so embarrassed to be caught that you'd worry about him, making another dash away from the party. Despite Cove's reaction to the scene with your moms, to you it had been a perfect ending to the evening. I'm so glad you got a chance to dance with Cove once more before the night was over. It was definitely much over now. You didn't need to say anything to Cove. The two of you marched wordlessly over to your parents, who were still bickering playfully. Standing where shoulder to shoulder, your parents surveyed you and Cove. You wondered as if they were checking out they were returning Mr. Holden's son in the same state that he left the house.
So?
Quiet night, huh, gang? Wasn't it just? Cove managed a self-conscious smile. Yeah. Mom was smiling too, with an expression so chuffed it could have created a newborn chick.
Well,
How was your very first date? Please don't start on them already. It technically hasn't even ended yet. Fine. Good. Well, be ready yourselves to get back to Elizabeth. If we're lucky, the house might be still standing.
Pam.
Oh, shush. She swatted your mom playfully, laughing at the comments. You cast one last look at the party. You saw people exchanging farewells and suppressing yawns. Most of the faces were happy ones, despite the weirdness that was starting to creep in. Cove's head was angled away from you. As you watched, wondering what he was looking at, he came around looking and met your gaze. It was a little strange, though it has only been a few hours of your life. You felt a little older as a result of you tending your party. It was as if to step away from the world of your childhood, where dressing up and reserved almost exclusively as a form of play, towards something new that you hadn't yet grasped. Turning away from the final moments of the party, you shelved that for another time as your moms eagerly led you back to the car. As you and Cove tailed after them, you felt childlike once more. That, I'm going to, since that's so save, I'm going to save this at the very end, as this is specifically Cove's. So, with that, I hope you guys have a good day, night, week, month of your lives. May the stars forever guide your path wherever they might lead you in the future, and hope to see you guys next time.